Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Voiro podcast. Today, I'm excited to host Shivani Srivastava, Director of Revenue and Ads Monetization at PhonePe. Welcome, Shivani. I hear that you're stuck inside your conference room right now.
Yes, I am. It's a very interesting Friday.
Yeah, I know. I'm always happy on Fridays. If you listen to my podcast, I'm always crowing about the fact that it's Friday because it's one of those days when it's finally the end of the week. It's not like work
Yes,
stops, but you have this conditioned feeling of it's the end of the week, right?
I agree. I wake
Yeah.
up very happy on Fridays too.
I agree. Okay. All right. So, when we were chatting, we met at Tech.
Yes.
And when we met, I was really taken up by your energy and the fact that, you had just stormed off the stage and said, the audience was not that interactive, no? And I was like, I was not in this audience because I didn't pay for it, but okay,
Yeah,
this is truth. And when
yeah,
we had this conversation, when we sat and we had this conversation in the speaker room, you had a lot to say about PhonePe. And we have been following PhonePe's journey for the last 3 years very closely, being in the ad industry. PhonePe started 2015. You joined them 2018 from Musicma. What's the journey been like? Has anything changed? What has stayed the same?
yeah. So I actually joined them from ISB. I went to do my MBA at ISB after my Musicma journey. Uh, I think it's been quite a whirlwind. I must say, I think I've always been very keen on experimenting and getting into industries or brands which are in the building stage, right? I think always had that even as a 21-year-old that I want to join a brand where I can build the brand and not really be a part of a place where the story is already done, the setup's already been made. And I think that's when I joined Musicma back in 2010 as well. People didn't know analytics, right? I think there was no really construct of analytics that existed in the way it's like the hot topic now. I think it's also died down a little bit, but back then it was not even something that people knew or were talking about it, right? So I think, but throughout my journey, even at Musicma, I think what really interested me was always to work on new problem statements, work on places where nothing exists and you build it from scratch. So had a very, very interesting experience of working across geographies, setting up new business lines and new geographies for PhonePe, for Musicma back then, from Japan, which was a very, very different world, to doing it for Australia. Did it for a very long time for healthcare technology companies in US. So when I finally, at my time end at Musicma, I realized that I want to be in the seat that calls the shots. I don't want to be an enabler. Uh, I don't want to be the person who says, here is what you should be doing. I want to do those things. I want to live through those consequences. Every success is every win is mine and every loss is mine. And I think that's where once I went to do my MBA, when I was looking at all the different opportunities, and then again, when I was coming out of ISB, fintech was not existing in the country at back then. We just had Paytm, and Paytm was known for its wallet, so as to say. We were, I think, a year out of demonetization. There were no lending apps, there were no fintech apps. The only thing digital about finance was Paytm. So I think that's the journey with which I came on to PhonePe, of joining a brand which is still getting built, an industry which is still in its very early stage of growth. And I think 6 years in, have again multitude of problem statements, a lot of interesting opportunities, a lot of doing things which has not been done before, even within the context. So again, when we started building out ads, no fintech platform was doing ads in the country, right? I think when people thought marketing, back in 2019, 2020, when we started PhonePe Ads, people would think Google, people would think Facebook, people would think Instagram. TikTok had just started getting banned out of the country, but that's where your share chats and mods of the world were picking up. But there was a Flipkart back then too. There was an Amazon back then too, which were doing some form of ads, obviously. But there was no payments platform doing it. Banks have been around for the longest period of time. They've been sitting on the gold mine of information for the longest period of time. So I think, in a nutshell, I think a journey of a lot of new and interesting things, of a lot of challenging opportunities. Uh, I love the thrill. If I have a boring week, it's very demotivating. I want a new problem statement to crack at. I think I'm very passionate about building teams, and I think that's an opportunity I've gotten through and through across Musicma and now at PhonePe, and I take a lot of pride in the kind of teams I build with a lot of passion, with a lot of loyalty, really, baked in. So yeah, I think yeah, it's
Yeah, it sounds very excited, very entrepreneurial as well, and you can hear it even in the way you're saying it and how passionate you are about your job at PhonePe, which really isn't a job anymore, right? It's
yeah,
almost like a purpose that you're on.
yeah.
So just to dial it back a little bit, you spoke about the fact that back then, from a payments perspective, marketers never thought of this as part of their marketing mix, right? And
Hmm.
also, PhonePe didn't get up one day and say we are now in the ads business. You did build it brick by brick, and
Yes.
you have, which is why it's such a solid business today, and has such a it has a way to go. But like you're saying, there are new problems that are coming on. But it the foundation of this business started out years ago, and the vision was set in years ago. So, can you give us a little bit of an insight as to what are the building blocks of this ads business that PhonePe has today?
Absolutely. I think uh, back in 2018, 2019, I think we were already in a place as PhonePe as an org. We had already started taking over Paytm in terms of the market share, in terms of the recurring utility bill payments, recharges and bill payments, as we like to call it. 2018 is also when GPay came into the market and they started doing a lot of cashbacks, offers, and everything. But by the time 2019 hit, PhonePe and GPay had already taken over Paytm, and we were very neck to neck with each other, but we were leading the market, right, with a marginal gap. I think that was the time when we realized that, okay, we are sitting on this really large user base that is very frequent on the platform. They spend a lot using the platform online and offline. And at the end of the day, this is very, very critical information that helps you understand the user very holistically. So just by looking at payment signals, you can understand what categories he's interested in, what kind of size of the ticket that he has with respect to categories, and how does this also vary online and offline. And this, while is at a user level, there is so much that you can understand about his persona beyond what payments shows you. So if two people pay the same electricity bill ID, then they live in a household, right? Or a lot of people in the payments context set up auto payments, pay to maid or transfer to mom. So you start having a lot of derived information on how big is their family size. Is this a premium household or not? Right? Is this person a two-wheeler owner versus a four-wheeler owner? Is credit cards a way to be, because they pay credit card bills very consistently over a certain period of month. So we said this was at one shot where we already knew that this existed on the platform. And like I was telling you, that when we looked at the digital marketing landscape of the country, and digital was growing, by the way, this is pre-pandemic. Digital was already picking up pace in the country. But people were very set in their ways. When brands would advertise, they would look at a Google Meta, and then you had these content platforms. So we said, if we look at the entire marketing funnel of having either reach or engagement or intent to purchase or the data to identify the user, there are obviously certain winning chances that we have, especially with reach and especially with data. And we may not have intent to purchase, but we actually have established purchase because of payments. So we said we have a large enough user base. We have a clear shot of winning the market because we are the largest transaction platform in the country. And at the end of the day, because of our payments leadership already, we had existing payments relationship with all the top brands in the country. So we said, at the end of the day, any brand in the country, be it a leader or be it a mid-tail guy or be it a long tail, is constantly looking out for newer platforms where they can go really, really niche and identify the most relevant user base. And then engage with that user base to either acquire them, to get them to purchase and do a transaction, to reactivate them if they're dormant. So we said this is a very solid opportunity for us to really get in, and that's how really ads was born, right, of coming in. Now, when we started out, we already had also the product of scratch card, if you remember. I think
Yes.
this was the days when people would scratch and discover a cashback behind it. Now, I think GPay had it before us. Scratch card as a construct, they brought it out in the market, but we were the first ones to actually open it up to outside of PhonePe. We said at the end of the day, it's a great product which the users are, gamified for, and they look for a value proposition behind those offers. We have the user base, we have the targeting signals to go very, very relevant. Can we get the brands to actually talk to these users and convert them by using offers or cashbacks as an incentive? So I think that's where the building blocks of ads that we see today started laying down. Scratch cards, then known as scratch cards, today known as rewards, is the product which literally started from day one. over a period of time, obviously, we developed a lot more products. We were sitting on very large user base who was frequently coming on the platform. So obviously, the display ads came on next. And that's also very interesting, right? If you think about it, Kavita, uh, when you're sitting on your long commute hours in Bangalore, you will still look at a content platform. You will look at social media. You're not going to look at a payments platform. That doesn't happen naturally. So I may not be able to engage Kavita, but the fact that Kavita opens the app 3 times in a single day, I can definitely build top of the mind recall. Or I can tell Kavita about the fact that Xiaomi is launching a new phone. So I think, as we started building out the roadblocks, we also realized that what works in the market does not necessarily mean it will work on us. But what we bring to the table is a little more unique than that. So we have to figure out what is it that will work for the brands in the market, and it will probably be very different from their regular playbook. So while there was always a Coupon Dunya and a Groupon which existed in the past, very, very targeted offers, incentive-led product was what Scratch Cards brought in the market. After us, GPay opened it up to external brands. Paytm did it 5 years, and all of us are doing it. Many more brands are doing it. But I think that's where the journey has been, and building blocks is that we understand our strengths, but we also acknowledge who we are not, right? And it's about finding that sweet spot in between where we're saying that how do I really build something which will work for the brand sustainably in the long run? So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
No, of course it does. So, and very well at that. So earlier this month, when I was writing to you earlier as well, I said that Netflix made news by announcing that they are planning to launch their own ad tech, right? And we know
Yeah.
that some of the brands, some of the publishers in India do have their own ad tech. You all have built your ad tech since day one, right?
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
have your own ad tech, and you all genuinely wield a greater control on your ad experience for users. What are the various formats that you have right now? And rewards is one at this point in time, and I understand
Yeah.
that you're kind of sandwiched in the entire media plan, and you're trying to educate the market on how it can be leveraged. But
Yeah.
what are the various formats that you have? How do users interact with these ad formats? How have you envisioned it on your application?
Absolutely. And I think that's very interesting, right? I'm at the end of the day, a user comes in to make a payment and gets out. So it's a very quick, my session time will never be comparable to a Hotstar.
Yeah.
Never be comparable to an Instagram or ShareChat for that matter.
And shouldn't, right? Because you want to get them in and out fast. It's like search.
Exactly. It's like search, right? And I think you also need to acknowledge that my bread and butter business for which the user opens an app is payments. If that experience is not seamless, then everything else is irrelevant, right? So with that context in mind, because we're a payments platform, offers or rewards is a very natural fit to it, because when you have to make a payment, India is a deal hungry country. We all love an offer. It doesn't matter which strata of society we belong to.
Bizarrely, because of the fact that there is so much happening in the restaurant world, right? And things have become ridiculously expensive. I don't know about any other city, but Bangalore has become untenably expensive.
Yes.
That we're all like going through various apps to say, where is there a deal, right? And pay through this app because you'll get a 15% off, and it's not an ignorable amount of money either, right? Because your total values are really, really large. We're a deal hungry country.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally reached on a stage where me and my husband are like, dine out. No, but today you use your card because there's an offer running there, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's absolutely. And if you think about it, I think that's throughout, right? I mean, even today when I book my flight tickets, even if it is an extra step, I will use my, Access credit card points for it, because hey, why not? Not like that money I'll save and say, oh my God, it's a pot for later. But that's just how India works. So then payments and offers or incentives went hand in hand. So which is why rewards was a big one. I think in the marketing objectives of the country, reach is a very big objective, right? Even today, like we can all talk about the fact that people don't watch TV anymore and world is moving to OTT, or nobody reads newspaper. Not true. Still the mass Indian population reads a newspaper. Still the regular people watch a TV soap, watch a reality show. True. Yes, the contribution is declining, not taking that away. But at our population scale, it's not something that you can ignore, right? So with that, we said we definitely have the reach and the scale. So we actually started creating display ad assets across the app. But again, a very conscious call there also was that we will never interrupt a user in their payments journey. You're here to make the payment. We don't want to show you an ad, a pop-up block, and stop you in that journey. No. I mean, honestly, when a news channel does it for me, or when I am finding a recipe online, if I get a pop-up, I don't mind. But when it comes to payments, I will log out of the app, right? Payments is a lot more sacrosanct behavior than that. So we started building out display ad assets, but very consciously on pages which do not interrupt the user in their transaction journey. So that's how we have interesting ad assets. We have something called as a masthead, which is our roadblock asset. The moment somebody opens the app, it is in path of 120 million unique users in a day. We call it the digital billboard of the country. We say you're spending money on a print newspaper because of the eyeballs. Here, the eyeballs can actually be converted into traffic for you, right? Then we obviously have a similar ad asset at the end of the transaction journey, because now that you're done with transaction, you are not in a hurry to go, right? There is an asset there. So similarly, we have designed display assets in a way that it is not overburdening the experience of payments on the platform, and yet it is intertwined in the user's journey within the platform. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. So one of our most used product features on the app on the payment side is something called as check balance. Now, this is where you can come and check your account balance of multiple bank accounts in one place. It's a beautiful page. User is not in a hurry. He's probably doing it to check salary came or not, or probably checking, how much money do I even have left or not. Now, these are the pages we have a slightly larger asset size because we understand the user spends more time, right? So display ad assets came across that. So we have rewards, we have display. The third and the most interesting one, and that's totally up the alley of what works on us because of who we are. So we realized that the most native way in which a user interacts with the payments app, which is for people like you and me and everybody listening, is to look at the icon and say, this is what I need to pay. So there is an electricity bill icon, there is a DTH icon, there is a property tax icon. It's iconography with which a user reacts to the app, right? I'm not the app where there's a description written. So we launched something called as sponsored icons. Now, these are nothing but brand logos, which are placed on very heavy engagement pages. And that's it. So this basically gives the brands an entry point on a heavy engagement page of the PhonePe app. And because it's just an icon, this is how users interact with it. And I'll tell you, interestingly, that's one of our most sold out inventory ever.
So what happens? How do I interact with it? Do I click on it, it goes somewhere?
Yeah, it just redirects you to the brand's app or website or wherever it is.
Oh, that's damn cool, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of our strongest performance inventory.
Low impact, right? I mean, low effort, high impact, right? Because
the brand doesn't need to give an offer for that, by the way, because there are a lot of brands who are very conscious, saying that, oh, I don't want to give an offer. I think my product speaks for itself, which is true. So you don't need to do that. You place it on a heavy homepage entry point, and it works very beautifully. It's very, very native to how a user interacts with PhonePe. It's been a amazing value proposition for the brands. Brands have loved it for the high quality traffic we generate. Even large established brands have actually driven consistently acquisition through this asset. So very, very interesting take like that. This year, actually, we are one of our biggest years in terms of new launches. So another step in this direction, and this is a product that, me and my product head are very, very close to our heart. It's our baby. It's in the infant stage right now. We said, we have a very large user base. Your mass population scale, right? At 260 million monthly active users, there are a lot of people who are on the app. Now, there are obviously people who would also like to earn money. So when you look at PhonePe, you can send money, you can spend money, you can grow money because of mutual funds and insurances. What else can you do with your money? You can earn money. That's practically the only other thing which is left to do with money. So we got something called as PhonePe Earn, which basically allows the user to do a task and earn money. So there are two products in this that we have launched. One is where we said despite 8 years being into the journey, 9 years into PhonePe as an org being journey, even today, our referral program is one of the highest efficiency programs in the country, right? So we said, can we build it up for other brands as well? So what PhonePe Earn does is, one, it allows brands to drive their app referral through PhonePe. So for a user, I can refer a Swiggy app on PhonePe or a MPL app or a Zepto app, any app, which is listed there, to my friends. I, as a user, earn money. The brand acquires the user. It's literally as simple as that. So not a complex product, just tapping into our scale, tapping into the fact that we understand who are the people who are referral hungry, who have large networks on PhonePe. And the second part that we've launched on that is called surveys, where brands can basically engage with their target group and ask them questions to understand them better. Right? This was another one which we kept hearing from FMCG brands, especially saying that, I don't own the user. I've
Mm.
always had these modern trade retail outlets in between. So I don't know if Shivani, why does Shivani not like a brand A versus a brand B? Can I talk to Shivani? So here is a product for that. So this is a very unique product. If you think about it, you will logically say, is this even marketing?
Yeah.
Right? You would question that, right? Like, how does this even? Referral does. Referral is a large way of doing marketing.
I remember when we were younger as well, we would also be like brand ambassadors. We would go and do stuff
Yeah,
for other brands, etc. And
yeah,
you would be, if it was a young youth brand, you would be the ambassador on campus and so on
yeah,
and so forth. So, and referrals, especially now with e-commerce and things like that, in terms of driving discovery and making sure that people are able to sort of refer a certain level of like certain kinds of products or certain homogeneous products, also has become like de rigueur now. People have like a thriving business on the side to be able to be referral
absolutely. Yeah,
savvy.
yeah,
It's a it's what is interesting is that when you talk about FMCG and marketing and how you talk to your brands and they want certain things to come out of PhonePe. How do what is the relationship between marketers and PhonePe today, and how do y'all make sure that PhonePe is written into marketing plans and media buys? Because what you're saying today requires, for all practical purposes, a deep level of understanding of what all PhonePe can do, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
uh, as you know, with media planning, a lot of these things are kind of de rigueur, eyes closed. Sometimes they're like cut paste
yeah,
plans because everybody's in a hurry.
yeah.
There's a deep level of education required in the market as well. So, like, talk to me a little bit about what your team does in terms of educating the market, both from a marketing side as well as from an agency perspective.
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things, Kavita, and this was just because we were a payments leader already when we entered into the ads business. For the first few years of ads business, we only entered into direct advertiser partnerships. This is literally my sales team talking to a performance marketer or a brand marketer within a particular brand, because that's when the brand already had a little bit of credibility of payments, because of which we got a seat at the table. And that's exactly when we could actually show our data prowess. We could actually show our customer inciting as a proposition. We could actually tell the brand saying that, hey, I know you're legacy wise used to doing ABC, but why don't you try a D? Let us figure out what that D was, right? And that really worked well for us, right? Early on, because of our rewards as a product, which was the offers couponing as a product and display, brands actually wanted to experiment a lot, because at the end of the day, brands also want to diversify. And they're like, if PhonePe already knows that how many users actually pay on my platform, can PhonePe find me the other users like that? Right? So brands at least had that mental model going, that I have this, can you give me more? So that ways, my sales team from get go, one of the very conscious calls we also took of hiring a very different kind of sales team, Kavita. So my sales team talks a lot more, data. They go into industry depth. They are pushed to think about what's happening at an industry level. What are the trends coming up? It doesn't have to be specific to advertising. You know what is happening at an industry level to be able to contribute and say, hey, here is why you should be doing this. I'll give you a very interesting example. And this came as a part of that. We used to go to a lot of D2C brands, and who would say that, help me target female users. Now, for some brands, it makes sense because, somebody like a Whisper, obviously. But somebody like a Sivame, Clovia, there's like a bunch of innerwear brands, right? And the team would really push to and say, here is the data that shows that on a payments platform, a lot of women in India, even today, use a joint account with their husbands or father, or they operate out of their brother's account. So if you're just going to do a gender targeting, you'll be really, really limited. Actually, go gender neutral. And we used to face a lot of backlash from advertisers saying, "What are you saying? Like, why will I show a
Yeah,
innerwear ad to a
yeah.
man? Doesn't make sense." But then we said, you know what? We have the payments information. Here is the data. People who are actually transacting, you are also male according to our understanding. So go gender neutral. It's been one of our biggest success stories. These brands, a lot of these brands now go gender neutral on the platform, and they've been able to use this learning and go outside. So I think it has taken the direct sales team, as we like to call it, the works that works with the advertisers, a lot more data and industry depth, and work on a partner model, saying, hey, what are your acquisition targets for the year? So one of the things that we tell every brand that we work with is, we don't want a one-time campaign, which means don't put a obnoxious amount of money on me on the first campaign. Don't. I don't want to lose, right? Let's start small. Let's build it up. And that's the reason why now we are 5 years into ads. On the direct side, my retention rate of clients is more than 80%. Most of the brands have a long-term annual deals with us where we are a part of their performance and brand marketing budget. Having said that, one of the things that we struggled with, and like, where your question was stemming from, was performance marketing is still kept in-house for a lot of brands, but brand marketing is not. Brand marketing is where most of the brand marketing teams, especially of large brands, have an agency in play in between, right? Because brand marketing requires you to do hundreds of things, which is impossible for a single team to do. And that's when we realize that you have to go to the marketing agencies. Now, what works for the direct does not work for the agency. They don't have time to hear my data. They don't have time to do my experiments. They say, sorry, here, and they don't have an incentive to move away from this structure. They are not married to PhonePe. They know that they need to consume so many crores for a client and deliver on Y. They don't care if it's coming from one platform only. So over the last 2 years, we've started setting up our agency business and completely different sales approach. Here, I don't look at data when I actually interview somebody. Here, it's persistence. Here, it's relationship. Here, it's actually hardcore sales. How can you really explain everything to me in that short elevator pitch conversation that you get with your media planner? But I think that's one area, Kavita, which, if I have to be very candid, we're still battling it out. I think still agencies is a journey. I would say from the direct side, I'm on a 1 to 100, 10 to 100 actually. On agencies, I'm on a 0 to 1. It's a 1.5, 2 year old business. We are still getting media planners to acknowledge us and spend more time. Interestingly, there also, once a media planner tries us, they stick with us. So the product works, the platform works. It's about bridging that one gap of getting them to actually experiment on us and try on us, right? So that's where the agency sales team is very different from direct. They're out there in the market a lot more. They spend a lot more time. But across the two teams, the other very big push that we do as the ads leadership is tell us what the market needs. Can I build a product for it? And that's also,
you have the wherewithal to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't want to be in a place, if I have to talk 3 years out, that I'll have a 100-member sales team. That's not how I will grow this business. I want to build products which solve for needs. Some will be fairly squarely marketing. Some may be on the edge, like how my earned product is. But the way we will really push our boundaries in the advertising ecosystem will be a combination of sales, but also products that solve systemically for some problems. It may take slightly longer, but it will definitely be a lot more sustainable business to scale up.
Nice. So from what I'm hearing, you have managed ad service, managed ad sales business, right? There is there a self-service seller set business as well that you encourage people to put up their advertising on the platform, and how does that work? And what changes have you seen there? Because I mean, there it's I guess it's low touch, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
So we have just went live programmatically. Right, we're available across the top some of the SSP platforms in the country. So that obviously allows a brand to work with us without really engaging with us. We're in the process of launching our own self-serve. I think that was also a decision. We said we'll take it slow. Can we deliver to them? Can we do things for them? And we did our experiments in the past because, again, we work with a lot of these SMB brands, if I have to put them in a overall arching theme, right, where I don't need a sales or self-serve does. So that's definitely in the works now. Where we need them to get on board. But programmatic was the first step where we went live last year, and now brands can actually tap into us.
So do you, so how has the experience been with programmatic? A lot of publishers have like a bittersweet experience, right? Because they want to make sure that they're not cannibalizing themselves in the market. They want to have control. So how's that experience been so far for you?
I think it's a learning. I would say, I think I would still say we're still discovering. There is obviously pockets of spends that we started tapping into, which we did not get earlier, right? And that was the whole reason of going down that path, right? What it also does is, and interestingly, Kavita, when we talk to brands, you also sometimes work off the biases of the person that you're talking to, right? So somebody says that, hey, I'm a very premium brand. I don't think UPI is the place for me to be. You can show all the data in the world. It will probably sometimes not change their thought process. But when they actually run campaigns on programmatic and PhonePe shows up because the target audience is available, they're like, oh my God, I did not think about it. So it has very interestingly opened certain doors for us, which we did not expect in the past, which has been very encouraging. But I think it's also been a journey, one, like you rightly said, for cannibalization. I think two, for us, Kavita, also is we're a payments platform. So we work off a lot of guardrails. We work off a lot of philosophical constraints that this will not look good on us,
Yeah.
right? And that obviously limits the potential a little bit. But that also means that I'm still in the process of figuring out how do I really scale this up while I maintain my guardrails. The third and the interesting part is, and putting this out there, if somebody from the SSP world is listening to us and is happy to raise the hand and say, Shivani, we'll solve for you. Carousels are a way of operating on PhonePe ads, right? Every display ad is a carousel for me. Now it's a non-standard ad unit in the market. And that's actually been a big challenge because, when you do something, this is the side effects of being a unique platform, that some of our ad assets are not the standard ones. So that's where the struggle of how do I really make this? How do I really scale this up come? So I wouldn't still label it as bitter and sweet. I think I will still call it in the discovering and exploratory stage. It's encouraging for sure. I think we still have to figure out what is the formula with which we'll be able to scale it up at full throttle. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, it has to work for both parties, right? Both the programmatic side as well as you. And usually it's simplify and scale, and like you're saying, the innovation then takes a beating.
Yeah.
Because then you want to make sure that assets are coming in easily, they are via tags and a whole
Yeah.
lot of other things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next with PhonePe? What can we expect in the next, say, 3 years or even a year that, I know that you have the referral program coming up,
Yeah.
and you're going to be setting up your self-serve. Are there any new ad formats that you're coming up with? Do you have a take on where the India market is going in terms of payments and therefore the commerce media market? And last, I wanted you to comment about and give me a little bit of insight on is that, look, when the retail media network, right, I feel is a subset of the commerce media network, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about retail media, you're talking about a whole bunch of retailers who are getting together and you end a transaction. And this concept of ROAS, which is return on ad spend, there's a big debate out right now saying that should you be focusing on return on ad spend or what you actually touched upon a little bit earlier, which is return on marketing objectives, right? What are you actually doing with this money? So given all of these various things in play, which is ROAS versus ROMO, we definitely have lots of acronyms, retail media networks and commerce media, and where PhonePe is headed. Where do you think the market is going? Where is PhonePe going? Because PhonePe is actually the market, right? You are at the helm of the market. So like it or not, everybody looking to you guys to say, okay, what's next, right? Because what do you think defines the market? So what's happening on the, in maybe in the next year, 2 years? That,
so I think I'll not touch upon payments, somebody else's expertise. But I think one of the biggest trends, and it's not just on the payment side, but I think in general, the entire marketing, ecosystem of the countries seeing the shift is that we're moving more and more towards, performance. Every penny counts. There are every single day you see in the news of somebody starting to get on their profitability journey. Somebody wants to become profitable. Somebody has suddenly become profitable. But I think the push for profitability has been on the highest high in the last few years, right? I think we had that surge in between when VC money was overflowing in the market. Now everybody's asking for where is the bang for my buck, right? And that's happening across the board, right? That's happening even with the large guys. That's happening even with the mid guys. But I think that's where, honestly, I think it is going to be about ROAS, ROI, whatever you say it, but does it really fit into my larger scheme of when I look at my bottom line? And am I playing within the gross margins which I have available? And is this making sense to me? So it's not about suddenly about saying there are 10 publishers in the country, let's spend on all. It's about what is the incremental that I'm getting by spending on somebody, right? And I think that becomes, and we're seeing that in a lot of conversations where brands are like, okay, I was spending on you. Now, if I'm going to stop this, what happens to my overall picture, right? If I had to look like a 3-month baseline, or if I had to look a 1-year ARPU of the user or an LTV of the user, what happens that? So I think marketing suddenly is not just about the ROS then and there. Brands are also looking at a lot of CLTV or LTV on how is the quality of this user over the next few months. Obviously, the duration varies from brand to brand, and that's become very, very critical in conversations. And brands are getting to that. You could acquire a user on any of the platforms, and you can say this is the most premium user. But does he turn out to be premium 3 months in? Is he able to build up the LTV that you already have, or is it pulling it down? Right. So I think that's where a lot of retail market is moving to. Right. I think that's where we see this conversation more and more across the board of brands coming onto that. Now, where does PhonePe really come into play that, and what are our ambitions? I think we are at a very interesting junction, Kavita, if I have to say, where the PhonePe ecosystem is expanding. right? I think, we've launched our own stockbroking app last year called Share Market, which is doing really well. We have a bunch of, insurance verticals, mutual funds. We're getting into lending. So financial services as a vertical has been on a very expansive state, but we also launched Indus App Store 2 months back. I think when we met, they were just about to launch, if I'm not wrong, but they just launched, right? Now, App Store is a very different proposition in the country, right? India has a duopoly for the longest period of time. Now, App Store is a very, very interesting opportunity because App Store is where brands get a very, very, especially if the world is moving to perf, anybody who has a digital app in the country would actually want to convert the user and not just spend. So don't just show an ad, don't just show an offer. Can you get the user to actually install my app and make that transaction and continue to make that transaction? So App Store has been launched, and over the next few months, we'll start, monetizing the Indus App Store as well, which means any brand in the country who's actually looking for an app install as an objective or first transaction after that, we can actually completely close loop that entire marketing space. So I don't need to just stop at a CTR. I can actually go down and say, here is the install, here is the first transaction, and it's all within my ecosystem.
And discrepancies will be so much lesser, right? Because the attribution is 1:1, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Because that's basically what an advertiser or a brand or an app owner wants at the end of the day. They want to go to 10 different places and say, App Store hasn't updated the numbers, and you guys are telling me an X number and they're telling me a Y number. That's brilliant.
So that's a big one. Another interesting one that we launched last year as a PhonePe group was Pin Code, which is our commerce app, which is built on the narrative of city commerce, which basically means, Kavita, you and I are in Bangalore, and we can order from the local stores around us. So it has a culmination of food, grocery, apparel, home decor, electronics, anything, right? And everything. Now that's a commerce app. Today we're live in only a few cities in the country, but we're also scaling that up, which means in future, you also, when it comes to just a commerce, I could actually close loop on that as well. So I don't
you're building a virtual BDA complex.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just that suddenly it is not between, your Magrath Road versus JP Nagar, it's a BDA complex at a Bangalore level. So you can just be like, that's where I need it from, and you can get it home.
Nice.
And it's empowering, right? Because suddenly your local merchants or local offline guys who do not have the wherewithal to go digital themselves suddenly have a chance to actually catch your attention. Right? Suddenly have a chance to say that, hey, Kavita, we give you as many good groceries that are organic at better priced and fresher in the market. So that will give us a very beautiful segue, especially for the FMCG brands in the country, right? And we could close loop there. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff coming up because of how PhonePe Group is doing. And I'm talking about a 5-year period, right? A 3 to 5 year period. It's a long journey. These platforms obviously have to individually, they're growing and finding their own space. But I think what it will allow us to do as PhonePe Ads is have a very beautifully stitched narrative across, where I'm sitting on the Bharat user base that I understand so much about. And then I can bring in what the brand wants. And for every single brand, I have an offering that closes the loop for them, right? And I think that with the fact that everybody is moving towards profitability, everybody wants to see what is my return on my marketing spend and how does it fit with my overall P&L. I think that's when the conversations will become a lot more deeper.
That's nice. Okay. I mean, we've talked about a lot today, and we've unpacked a lot. And I'm really happy with the candidness that you brought to the table, as well as the the willingness to explain the nitty-gritties and the details, especially in the way you run your business. How PhonePe actually sets themselves up for success from the ads, from an ads revenue perspective. It's a new space. It's a very, very new space, and it's going to take its time to evolve, but it's evolving on a very, very solid base of data and audience understanding, and a deep level of audience understanding, like you unpacked a little earlier, right? And everybody hates ads, right? But nobody hates nobody hates a relevant ad. Everybody hates irrelevant ads, right? And so everybody wants information. I want to discover new things, and I think the best way to do it is if you're able to understand me better, right? Just like you're saying that even though it is gender neutral at this point in time, I'm still in the market. I'm still in the market for these products because I'm buying it at either a household level, or I'm buying it for us as a group, or somebody else is using my account. And these are the customer insights that you really want to get from audience data, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was an extremely interesting conversation, Shivani. Thank you so much for joining us. And
My
I'm sure
pleasure.
you'll have a lot of questions, and you'll see yourself across LinkedIn, so fair warning.
Yeah,
And
more than
I
happy.
wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Kavita. I had a lovely time chatting with you.
Thank you so much.